I hear this and I realize my brain literally tricks me into eating more cookies. I'm baffled. Hello friend, this week I'll share with you something that blew my mind, but before that, an update on how my training was this week and what it means to me to be fit at 40. Right? Fitness actually is really personal to me and probably is to you as well. It's about creating an eating, sleeping, training routine that fits into my life and my circumstances, and I hope that through watching my videos you are also figuring out how you can create a sleeping, eating and training routine that fits your life circumstances and everything that's happening in your life, whether you have kids or don't have kids. I have two, right? Whether you have a busy career or you have more time on your hand, whatever the situation is that you find yourself in, there is really only one benchmark, and that is yourself. For me, it is myself. I can't compare myself to anyone else because it's really hard for me to understand where they are on their journey, how long they've been on their journey, what they are specifically doing to get fitter and healthier. But what I do know and what I do understand is where I started, where I am today, and where I go as I progress day by day, training by training, meal by meal, sleep by sleep. So whatever it is that being fit at 40 or whatever age, I mean, age is not that relevant anyway, means to you, it's probably something very different to what it means to me. And the most important thing is that you understand why you want to do this, just like I understand that I'm doing this because I want to be able to keep up with my two boys as they grow up to be men, and they're already very physically active, but they're probably going to get more active as time passes. Anyway, on to the next topic, which is how my training was last week. And it was actually pretty good. I have started this habit of early morning runs, zone 2 cardio, a couple of times per week. And it seems to be paying off. I managed to do 30 minutes in zone 2 on my last run Sunday morning. I'm very happy with that. I think it shows that, investing time and effort in something like that will show results if you know what you're looking for and specifically what you're training for. I managed to do my 3 high-intensity workouts with some minor adaptations based on some new insights I learned about training for endurance, muscular endurance or aerobic endurance, which has significantly changed up my routine, but I think for the better, because I feel better afterwards and I feel like I'm getting stronger and maybe a bit more durable throughout my longer lasting training. So that's a good sign. And I managed to do 1 strength training, not 2 due to scheduling and circumstances, but that's fine because I just swapped that 1 strength training out for an extra cardio session, and I was perfectly happy with that. I actually ran for 45 minutes instead of 30 minutes last time. So it went pretty well. It was a good week in terms of training, and I hope I'll be able to keep that up as time passes by. Now, the thing that blew my mind, and I'm not sure if you've ever had this experience, but I have always had an issue for as long as I can remember, especially with sweet things, that when I have one, I always need to have 2, 3. I can eat a whole bar of chocolate, the big ones, or I can have spoon after spoon of honey. I can have more and more jam on my croissants and sandwiches sometimes. There's just this thing about sweetness that is very appealing to me. It makes it very hard for me sometimes to stick to a very strict diet calorie deficit, because the moment I have this sweet thing, it's never just one, it's more and more and more. And I've always thought it was just kind of a lack of willpower on my end, the inability to control my urge to just eat more and more and more. But then this morning I was listening to a podcast about the neurological processes underlying hunger and underlying your drive to eat and your motivations to eat. And obviously it at one point turned, if you know anything about this neuroscience, otherwise I'll link that specific podcast in the text below this video. It talked about this dopamine loop and how you are seeking this reward, this pleasure sensation, and that sweet food tends to have a very, especially sugary food, tends to have a very strong effect on that kind of dopamine release in your brain. I had no idea in this context. But turns out that it's not only the reward for having that first sweet thing, which can taste really good, but then there's apparently also a mechanism that makes it painful the moment that sweet sensation leaves, and the quickest way to get out of that pain back into the pleasurable sensation and experience is to have one more piece of that sweet thing. But here's the kicker. That second sweet thing is never going to give you the same level of kick as the first one did. So you want to have more and more, because the moment you have that painful experience, you want to get out of that kind of like painful experience and fix that by having that feeling good sensation of eating that sweet thing. And I had no idea that there was this biological mechanism underpinning that kind of, almost for me, reflexive behavior of just having one more and having one more until the bag of cookies is sometimes almost finished. I know it's a bad habit, but and I can control it, I'd say 75% of the time, but sometimes not. And you know, that reminded me of this thing I heard a while back somewhere on YouTube, where someone had a talk about 100% being a breeze, but 90% is being nearly impossible. The type of commitment to doing something completely or maybe a little bit. And you know, just clicked for me that, yeah, of course, it's so much easier to just not have that first cookie and to put it away, because you don't actually have that somewhat useful but also counterproductive biological trigger when you don't have that first cookie. So I guess one of the strategies for me to employ, and this completely blew my mind, is just to remind myself now that I know, is that having that first cookie is likely going to lead to me having more than one cookie or more than one piece of chocolate or more than one candy. And that's fine some days, most days, wherever I am on my journey. But if my goal is to eat healthy and to reduce my calorie intake from these somewhat unhealthy food sources in favor of more healthy food sources, I should probably just not have that first cookie. And if I'm going to have that one cookie, I should take that one cookie or whatever portion size I want to take from those sweet things, put the bag away, hide it, and move to another room so that there is enough time between me eating that cookie and the reflexive trigger to want to have more, so that as I walk down the stairs or walk down 2 flights of stairs or have to go back into the building or have to rummage through a cupboard to find what I'm looking for, there's enough time for my conscious mind to intervene and straighten out my delinquent behavior when it comes to sugar eating. So anyway, this realization blew my mind. I'll link the video to the podcast below, because he does a much better job at explaining it than I could possibly do, but it's just something that I realized today and I thought maybe it's worth sharing. Anyway, friend, if you like these updates and my shorts and other content that I'm making, I'll be talking about fitness, but I also use fitness as an analogy for my career. I'll be talking about specific career skills and personal development skills in these videos. Go ahead, hit the like button, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.